So we finally got the chance to get our hands on Titanfall 2. The first weekend of the technical test is almost over, and we've got a few thoughts on how it's looking so far. In essence, Titanfall 2 is looking pretty similar to what we got in Titanfall 1, although this time there is a single player campaign which we haven't had a chance to get any time with yet. But the multiplayer has a few new modes, a few new mechanics, and most excitingly, some new Titans. In this technical test there's Scorch and Ion, which both have different specialities compared to the three which we know from the first game, and most interestingly really is the ability for pilots to grappling hook around, which really adds a different dynamic to the mobility of the game. The first impressions of the grappling hook really for me are a little bit mixed in the sense that it does open up the traversal of the level, but it's pretty difficult to use. I get the feeling that there's a bit of a learning curve around using it to its most effectiveness. You can not only attach yourself to walls, buildings, etc. and pull yourself up, but also you can pull enemies towards you, which again sort of adds a different edge to your encounters with enemies. There's two levels in this iteration of the tech tests, Boomtown and Homestead, and there's more to come in the second test next weekend. Generally the levels look pretty good, but nothing completely mind-blowing at this point. Boomtown feels more enclosed, whereas Homestead is more open, and I think that's a really deliberate choice from the developers to include those two to get a real kind of balance between the different types of play you'll see in the game. Respawn have emphasised that this is just a very small chunk of what you'll expect in the final game. But aside from the single player campaign, which is something that's completely new for the series, it seems unlikely that the multiplayer is really going to reinvent itself this time around. To be honest though, if it ain't broke don't fix it, and the multiplayer first time around was engaging. It just didn't necessarily have the legs which we might have expected from that sort of a title. Hopefully going multi-platform this time will allow Respawn to get more revenue from those DLC transactions and put more into the post-game release schedule. There's been emphasis on the fact that the solo campaign will really give a lot of character to the Titans, and the fact that they have different personalities and this sort of thing. You don't really get a lot of that in the multiplayer. The feel of it is very instantaneous and quick, short bursts of action. You don't really get a chance to build any relationship with the Titan that you're using. In both of the modes which we've given some time to so far, which is the all-new Bounty Hunt and Amped Hardpoint, a kind of spin on the traditional Hardpoint domination, Titans feel like they take a while to get into battle. Particularly on Bounty Hunt there seems to be a real delay between the match beginning and those Titans starting to drop. And it's a difficult balance because you want Titans to be available and for players to be able to play around with them and stuff like that, but at the same time if they're dropping all of the time, then it just detracts from the overall point of the mode. You might as well just be playing a normal deathmatch. Bounty Hunt I think has real potential to push the boundaries a little bit with what they're doing in the multiplayer because of the structure of it necessitating you going back to a certain point to deposit your funds after you've making those kills. I have to say though, it's very frustrating when you're killed and immediately half of what you've earned is wiped out, when it can be quite difficult to build up that total. AI grunts and sentinels are back, littering the landscape, and in fact the distinction between the teams is a bit more clear this time, so you'll find you're less often accidentally shooting at your own teammates. In all, there's not a lot here to go on in terms of giving a real definitive opinion, but as this is first impressions, I'm interested. I'm looking forward to playing more. There's another test next weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to see a bit more of Respawn's vision for where the game's headed. To be honest, the single player mode is probably one of the biggest things which I'm looking forward to as well, as much as multiplayer is really my preference in these sorts of games. I think having a single player element to it really kind of builds out the world and the universe a little bit of the games, and it makes it feel like you're fighting for a purpose a little bit more. So have you had a go at Titanfall 2 this weekend? Leave us a comment below and subscribe for more videos and updates on Titanfall 2 as we get closer to the game's launch in October.